So here we are down in Mount Juliet Estate, and today I'm joined by Paul McGinley and Matt Sandercock. Paul, you're just back from the Ryder Cup. Great weekend, great result for Europe. When the wild cards were announced, what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts, like everybody, was that, obviously Sergio's form hadn't been good. Thomas, what happens when you make picks is a lot of communication goes on behind the scenes, and Thomas had obviously been talking to Sergio, who assured him that his game was good. They put a plan in place. He was going to play in Portugal, and he figured, right, he's the guy I want to be there, and we'll play in Portugal. And in hindsight, looking back with the way the golf course was set up, he picked three guys in particular in Poulter, Sergio, there was Paul Casey, and the fourth one was Henrik Stenson. So maybe not Casey, but the other three were brilliant drivers of the ball, and he was picking guys that could sit the exam that the Ryder Cup course was going to be. So it was all part of a plan, and that's what impressed me a lot about last week. There was very much a plan in place.
Yeah, the wild cards, they played so well. They got 9.5 points compared to Jim Furyk's wild cards that only got 2 points.
Yeah.
They really do make a difference, and there's no. It's so complicated trying to work out which wild cards to pick, because it's not just on form, is it? It's
not just form. Oh no. It's form and also the exam that they're going to sit. He knew how tight it was going to be around the golf course. He knew how heavy the course would be in terms of rough, and he went with picks that were really good drivers of the golf ball, guys that hit a lot of fairways. I mean, Henrik Stenson's #1 in driving accuracy on the PGA Tour. Phenomenal when you think that none of the American team were rated in the top 30 in driving accuracy.
Yeah.
And that's why I find it so difficult to sit the exam that was posed last week in Paris National.
They got off to a good start, 3-1 in the on the morning one. Could have been 2-2, could have been 4-0. What was Bjorn saying at lunchtime going into the afternoon session, 3-1 down? Probably the most difficult time of the 3 days for him.
Well, it was, because he'd 5 rookies in the team. He was working to a plan. When I talk about a plan, so the plan was the picks. That was part of the plan, and the golf course setup was part of the plan. You move on then to the first day, and his view was, a part of his plan, I want to get all 5 players out the first day. The 4 balls are in the morning. It's easier to introduce the guys into the 4 balls, so they put 4 rookies out in the morning and then 1 rookie in the afternoon. So he'd taken a big risk in the morning by putting 4 rookies in that session, and that's why they probably struggled. Then in the afternoon he had really strong pairings. I mean, leading out with Rose and Stenson. Just go look through his pairings. They were phenomenal in the afternoon because he'd taken his gamble. So that really important point that Fleetwood and Molinari won when they came from 2 down to win that game against Woods, and I think it was Reed, wasn't it? I'm not sure, but that was massive. That was massive, just to get something out of the morning session. And then we went out, and our strength then, we knew we were going to be better in the afternoon, and we certainly were. 4-0 was, and it wasn't just winning 4-0, they hammered them. I think no game went past the 16th. That was when I saw, that's when I really believed that Europe were going to win.
So Thomas is the man at the front of the pack. Let's talk about the team behind him, the backroom staff. You were saying earlier on about the importance of continuity with the backroom staff. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the European Tour have got a team in place behind the scenes. When I was captain, I talked a lot about templates, and there's a template in place, and we want to do that. There's a guy that works in the locker rooms every Ryder Cup. There's a guy that looks after player liaison and everything that we need. There's a girl, Julia, who works behind the scenes, does all the logistics and everything that goes into it. There's Scott Crockett, who looks after all the media. They stay in place. It's the same personnel for every Ryder Cup for Europe. And then they just put a different head in terms of the captain. And that machine behind the captain, there's continuity. They've done lots of Ryder Cups. They know what it's about, away and at home. And that machine is there to help the captain. It's a really important part of our success.
And the golf course itself, it looked fabulous on television, and those last 4 holes, they just change. They can change anything, can't they?
They can. Very difficult, particularly the first 2 days, because the wind really blew the first 2 days, and that's what wasn't picked up a lot about in the narrative after the Ryder Cup, is how much the golf course changed on Friday morning, the first day of the Ryder Cup, compared to the practice days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were beautiful, mid-20s, t-shirts, warm, humid. I played in the past captain's match on Thursday. It was boiling. It was 27, 28 degrees. And then we came out and it was like 8 degrees on Friday morning, and it was a cold wind blowing.
Yeah.
Now it didn't really blow in the morning, but in the afternoon it really blew too, and again that contributed to us winning 4-0. So a lot of things were going on behind the scenes, and that's what happens at a Ryder Cup. There's always moving things going on, and you have to adjust. As a team you have to adjust, and as a captain you have to adjust.
And Thomas did a great job. Do you see Pádraig being captain next?
Well, when the bookies don't take odds on Pádraig being captain, I need I say any more. I think what he's done now, because he's been vice captain to me and he's been vice captain to Thomas, is this succession plan that we have. We made a decision a number of years ago that we want to see vice captains coming in, or people coming in, doing the role of vice captaincy before they elevate into the role of captaincy. That's happened now right back to 2012. I think Monty was the last one who went in without being a vice captain, and I think that's proved a success. We won in we won in 12, we won in 14, and we won this time. So that continuity is there. Pádraig has done that, and as I say, when the bookies aren't taking bets, I think they're right.
It's odds on.
Well, it's odds on, and a great captain he would be. I think he's got a lot of respect to the players. He's very bright. He understands the game. He understands people. But away from home is very difficult. So, in some ways it's daunting, but in other ways incredibly exciting, because everybody knows how difficult it is to win away from home. Yeah.
So the Americans will go back to America now. They'll do a full review. Where do they go? I mean, do they set up another task force? What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they need to review what happened. I mean, stuff went on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and they need to sit down. Only they can answer that question. Did we get this decision right? Did we get that? Should we have done this? Should we have done that? In my opinion, looking from the outside in, they weren't prepared to sit the exam the Paris National posed. It's very unique in modern golf course for professional golf that you can only hit 4 drivers in a round. When these guys play in the PGA Tour, the setups are very generic. Fairways are very wide. The rough, the lines where the spectators are is close to the fairway, so that gives them another 10 yards on each side of it that you have to hit it into the rough. It's still going to be okay. And I think they got spooked a little bit by the tightness of the golf course, and it takes a bit of getting used to. It really does take a lot of getting used to, and it looked from the outside they kept missing fairways. I mean, the 17th was a great example. Even in the singles, how many matches went up 17? I mean, I remember Tiger, for example. John Rahm had just 3-putted the 16th, and this was a pivotal match. I think it was in the 5th game. It was a huge match in the context of winning the Ryder Cup. So John Rahm had just made a big mistake by 3-putting 16. Tiger's now 1 down with 2 to play, playing the difficult 17. Man, you've got to hit the fairway, and he hits it in the heavy rough, and everybody knows he can't get close to the pin from there. And then John Rahm said in his interview afterwards, where he said, well, when Tiger missed the fairway ahead of me, I got such a big boost and I just hit it as hard as I can and I smashed it up the middle of the fairway, and he made birdie and game over because he was able to spin it at the pin. So hitting fairways was such a premium. It's not a strength of the American team by nature if you look at their statistics, and we took advantage of that.
Yeah. And in terms of Ryder Cup captains, we can look back at Tony Jacklin as an iconic Ryder Cup captain, because the way he changed the way the European team approached the Ryder Cup. And I think there have been many great captains since then, but I think we could look back at your captaincy as another iconic moment in Ryder Cup history, in the way that you meticulously planned everything for the Ryder Cup, and that then has become a template since then for European captains, and I think you have this understanding which you brought through into broadcasting of the game, and it makes it incredibly interesting as someone who's watching television to understand the moment or the shot. How much are you enjoying broadcasting? Because you've taken to it like a duck to water.
Oh, I don't know that. I find it difficult. It's a difficult place to be, because a lot of the players who are played under me and played so well, and I don't want to be critical of them, but at the same time I've got to give an insight and I've got to read situations. So I've got to get that balance right. And I know how difficult the game is, and particularly at the very top level how difficult it is, and I understand the difficulty of playing pressure situations, how you can make a mistake and how you can feel inside. So I have a lot of empathy with the players in that regard. How much I'm enjoying? I enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy the fact that I do 8 tournaments a year for Sky. So I do the majors, the world events, TPC, Ryder Cup. So I'm in the front line, which is great, and I enjoy those big atmosphere events. The Ryder Cup was great last week, particularly when Europe were doing so well. The one in Hazeltine was a bit tougher because we were on the back foot from the first session that we lost 4-0. But one of the things I like to bring, particularly, and I'll probably have a lot more relevance when it comes to match play events and Ryder Cup in particular, because that was the kind of the form of golf that I enjoyed the most as a professional. You know, my career was, it was a good one, but it wasn't a stellar one in terms of winning major championships or even contending in them. But my Ryder Cup and match play record was really good, and so I can read match play. You know, born here in Ireland and grown up in Ireland, playing the North, South, East, West, Irish close. You know, they're all match play events. Carrying from my dad initially, being around older guys like, remember Pádraig O'Rourke is one of the guys here in Kilkenny, wily, smart, clever. Mick Morris as well in Portmarnock, wily, smart, clever. And I was around them. They were friends of my dad's. I was around them. I was picking up ideas, picking up match play ideas from them, and picking up the sense. This is one of the big things that's misses when people talk about Ryder Cup. You look at the players qualifying for the team, and they qualify for the team based on their performance in 72-hole tournaments, stroke play. Then they're asked to go into sprints. So you're training for a marathon, basically, you can say, to use an extreme example. Yeah. You're training for a marathon, and then you're asked to run a 200-meter hurdle. And that's always a difficult dynamic for a captain, because they're qualifying that. Now, we've adjusted really well in Europe, and that fortunately and I've been lucky to be part of unbelievable match players. I mean, to be around Olazabal all the years I have done for the last 20 years and being part of teams with him, being a vice captain to him, he's captained me as well. Sevi's captained me. I mean, unbelievable match player. Monty, unbelievable match player. Lee Westwood, unbelievable. Sergio, unbelievable match play. I mean, I can go on and on and on. That I've learned so much. So you move from the Pádraig O'Rourke and the Mick Morris, and you go into the Ollies and the Sevis and the Monties, and a lot of that knowledge I feel like I've picked up from them. And I love the moment. Olazabal had a great line when he was captain: seize the moment. And it's not just a moment of being a Ryder Cup player. It's about the moment of, let's take Park National last week. You've won the first hole. You're on the second tee. You have a chance to go 2 up. You got a 220-yard shot over water. This is a huge shot already, because if you can go 2 up, stats will show that 85% of the time you're going to win or half your game. So in a sprint of 18 holes, you've got an unbelievable opportunity. You take out the 4-iron, you smash it over the water, you hit it to 15 feet. Now the partner's feeling a huge amount of pressure because he's facing going 2 down after 2. That's seizing the moment, seeing the opportunity, sensing it. When you're 2 up, the next hole is really important. If you get to 3, it's pretty much game over. But that 2 up goes back to 1, it's game on again. Yeah. So those kind of moments, seizing those, understanding them, understanding the importance of different shots. Ian Poulter's another guy. I mean, brilliant match player, because he understands the moment, and that's what's the key is to match play.
Yeah, I can see your eyes light up when you're talking about the excitement of match play.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I love the cut and thrust of it, because I think that's what I like to think I bring to the broadcasting is I understand the moment. And one of the difficulties that broadcasting is there's so many matches going on, and sometimes you see a European player hitting, for example, but I want to know, what has the American done before him? If the Americans missed the green or missed the fairway, this fairway now is 50% bigger. It's going to be easy for the European. But if you see, I mean, a great example was last week, and again, Rory against Justin Thomas, who's a fantastic competitor, by the way. I'm so impressed. I was impressed with him before Ryder Cup. He's gone to another level with what he did. And what he did on the 18th tee, how he stood up in a huge important match. If his team were going to win that Ryder Cup, he needed to beat Rory in that first game. Rory had an unbelievable up and down in 17. Thomas stands up, and there's nowhere to go with driver. I'm saying to the people I'm with, I'm sitting with Laura Davis, I said, Laura, where's he going with driver here? Because the fairway runs out at 300 and it's 15 yards wide right of it, and he has to hit it down that 15 yard. I said, where's he going with driver here? And he just hit driver and just smashed it 340 down the middle of the fairway. Now Rory then hit it in a bunker, but he hit it in a bunker because the pressure was on. Thomas forced his hand. And that's what I love about match play. And I think a lot of credit to Justin Thomas there. Rory came up against an unbelievably great player and great competitor in Justin Thomas. Yeah,
I think when you probably didn't notice it, but certainly it seemed that every time Butch Harmon, maybe the 5th question he was asked, you go, I agree with what Paul said earlier. So
I agree with what Butch said. You know, I've learned a lot on Butch and the golf swing and players, and you know why Butch is a. I've loved working with him. And he's such fun. I mean, really, he's such fun. Away from the screen, he's one of my favourite people in the world to be around. But what I've learned so much, and what makes him for me a great coach, and that's what I want to bring into the academy here, is that coaching is not just about the mechanics of A to B to C. He's a big picture. You know, where his players are in their life. He knows everything that's going on in their life. He's managing them as people. He's managing the course management. He's talking to them. He knows when to G them up. He knows when to bring them down a little bit, as well as all the mechanical stuff that he does with them. He knows about shot making, and he knows how to feel. You know, when you're feeling a little bit turned up inside, how you got to get it around the golf course. He knows how to hit a squeezy fade, and you know, and how he's transformed Dustin Johnson's game from, you know, being a big hitter. And when he say, look, Dustin, we need to start working on our fade. We need to get that under control. We need to do it this way. Now we've got to start working on your wedge play. You hit the ball so far. You have so many wedges. You need to dial it in. Get on the track, man. Let's dial that in. They're the kind of dynamics that Butch Harmon brings as a coach, and that's what makes him so great. Yeah,
well, as we're on talking about coaching, we're here in the Paul McGinley Academy in Mount Juliet, the only one in Ireland and only two of them in the world. We're with Matt Sandiclock, who's one of England's greatest young coaches. How did you guys meet up?
Well, really, that was through my previous club at Sunningdale, and my boss then was Keith Maxwell, and Keith and Paul are very good friends. Paul's obviously a member there at Sunningdale, so over my time there, over the 7 years, played a lot of golf with Paul and come across him and his family a lot, so just formed a good friendship from there. Day-to-day basis of coaching for me, so Paul would see me on the range coaching a lot, and in the shop, so yeah, we just kind of hit it off from that point early on. It was a nice way to start, kind of a friendship base from a working base.
And you'd have coached a lot of top amateurs in England, a lot of Europro, Challenge Tour and European Tour stars as well.
Yeah, we helped a lot of people there. You had the likes of Stiggy Hodgson coming through at that time. He played in the Walker Cup, and I was helping him there with some short game work. I liked Anthony War, Steve Webster, those guys were around a lot. Nick Doherty. Paul was there a bit, so you'd help them out and you'd see what they're doing, and you'd always be picking up things and learning what they can do, because at the end of the day these guys are super talented, and we're kind of casting an eye and learning at the same time as trying to assist, and when TrackMan come into it, I took that on board early in my coaching career, so I sort of learnt it, and then I'm able to assist these guys a lot more, because that's really where the top players are going, is into the science, the stats, the facts. It's not about guesswork anymore. It's here's your numbers, and let's work on this, and this is where we go.
And so we have the Paul McGinley School or Academy here. What's the ethos of the academy? What makes it different to other academies that are out there?
Well, I'd like to think it's going to be my name that's going to come to it, and my experience of being around the tour for 25 years and amateur golf in Ireland. I understand, you know, Robin Dawson down here comes down and practices a lot here, you know, and he's elevated through it, and just my experience, basically, more than anything. I mean, I know the professionalism that Matt brings to the job, not just as a coach, but in the shop as well too, and organising and merchandising and a lot. That's really important. We're in the process. When stage one was doing the driving range, which we've done, and you'll see later, we've made 2 fairways down the bottom of the range, a bit like Augusta. That's where I got this idea. I wish it was my idea, but I got this idea from Augusta. Looking at it, what they have in Augusta on the driving range is they've got 2 actual fairways rather than just belt and driver. They've got 2 fairways at the end of the range, and they're defined, you know, so you got bunkers on both sides, and you try to hit it down the fairways rather than just aimlessly hitting drivers. So little things like that, and redoing, making the targets highlight out, making the greens highlight out. You're not just hitting at a big board. It's actually a green that you're hitting to. So that's the first stage. The second stage is now we're going to upgrade over the winter, and we're going to turn Matt's studio into a proper studio with all the bells and whistles, all the technology, everything that you need to do. Put some heating in there for the winter and all of those kind of things. So, you know, it's that, and it's for people coming down into Mount Juliet who, you know, want to learn how to play golf, and, you know, as well with the Robin Dawsons coming and using it, but we're also going to, you know, hopefully have people who are just starting out the game, and Matt and his team will be coaching them.
I think it's a nice we have all levels of golf here, from the juniors coming right through now. There's been a big increase here from Mount Juliet, a good junior section growing, and Sean Cotter's taken that on board, the resident professional here. We have the ladies coming through, had to get into golf system there this year, which worked really nicely, because again, the facilities here, they're able to relax after. They can go in the clubhouse in the Hound, they can have a drink, have a tea, coffee, scones, these sort of things. And then you do have your top players coming through. You have your Mark Powers, your Robin Dawsons, Johnny Yates. They're down here hitting balls quite regular. So the facility's so good for them. They have good golf balls in a relaxed atmosphere, good targets, good setup. They have me on site if they need them to use bits and bobs, similar to TrackMan. Robin will quite often be using us there for TrackMan pieces, and he works closely with Noel, so he's always just looking at his numbers and seeing if we can just assist with anything. Really, it's making him comfortable, and it's the same as you're making the likes of Robin comfortable as you are the juniors and the beginners.
Yeah.
If they're not happy in their environment around them, then they're not going to learn or take on board any of the good things we can bring to their games.
Yeah, so it's really targeted at people who are learning golf, people who are getting into golf, junior golf, people coming down and staying on the resort for the weekend, coming down, getting some lessons, or even going out on the golf course with you. There's a package for
There's everything
everybody
available there, yes. We also have company days, so we're doing clinics for the company days. You might have 40, 50, 60 guys here we can coach. There's a big enough tee area here. We have a separate chipping area and 2 putting greens. So there's a lot of things here we can combine around the estate. We have bunker practice, so we can take anyone's game from whether it's scratch to the plus section of the game, or whether you're just starting or just want to learn a bit more about your own game, your own swing, or even just the technology in the future with the bays there. We'll have all the fitting to take them to the next level.
Brilliant, yeah.
Via technology, not just through coaching.
Brilliant. Okay, well listen, Matt, thanks a million for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And Paul, thanks a million for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.